Buenas noches. Johnny Cain podcast here. And yes, I know that my name is spelled C-A-N-E on the podcast and C-A-I-N on the other. Now, I know it doesn't matter because nobody actually watches or searches for the podcast, but I have, because of the preponderance, if you will, of the number of Johnnies that are out there, and they're various artists and they're doing their own thing, personalities and whatnot. I have legally changed my name to Johnny Cain, C-A-I-N. Okay, so let's get right to it. I want to talk about how throughout the recent years that we've become so much more accessible to one another because of technology. And while this should foster communication, direct communication, more access between individuals, something that I've noticed is that you're actually getting more people that will ghost you than back in the day used to ghost you. Okay? And that sounds really strange because with social media, cell phones, email, you can reach someone and communicate with them via these means. And whereas back in the day, you had to call them on a phone that had no caller ID. It just rang, or you would go over to their house. And so now what we have is you have cell phones and you have email and computer cameras and Skype and all this stuff. And so not only are we more accessible, but the fact of the matter is, when someone's ghosting you because of that accessibility. All right. You can look at the fact that if you are so predisposed to do, you can look at the fact that they roll you to voicemail when you call. You can look at the fact that perhaps they ignore your messages on social media, but are still posting away on social media. If you're predisposed to do that, you can see that. Now, the technology has not created this wave of ghosting, as I call it. It is societal evolution. It's the progression of human beings that will take convenience over honor and doing the right thing. It's my firm belief that you pick up the phone, you call someone, you talk to them directly, unless you can go one better and see them in person if you have an issue to discuss. But you make direct live contact with them, and email does not count. Okay? It just doesn't. All right? Texts are secondary as well. They don't count. And what I mean is this. If you enter into a relationship with someone or an agreement to both perform certain duties and an undertaking, and if you're not going to be able to fulfill your duties, if you're not going to be able to hold up your end of the bargain, it's my belief that if you can't see a person in person, that you pick up the phone and make a phone call and let them know. Listen, what we agreed on, I'm not going to be able to do it. Cite your reasons and be done with it. And that's that. The ghosting, as it's known as, rolling to voicemail, ignoring emails, not taking any calls, that becomes evident because of the tracking that we have with live interactive social media. Now, the trend in terms of people doing it more. Again, this is societal evolution. And what many of these people have been taught, not necessarily by their parents, but by what they see in society. And some of it is an individual's own insecurities in terms of why they ghost you. People would ghost people back in the days. It was just the communication was direct, and not very many people did it. You kind of faced up to we have a difference of opinion, we have a difference of direction. Let's go ahead and not waste any more time and part ways. And whatever it may be. But many people believe in convenience over honor. And it's just easier to blow this person off and not call them back and let them know that you're not going to be able to fulfill your end of the bargain. Now, again, I'm old school, so I believe that speaking to someone is the primary form of communication. You know, you want to be able to talk to them in person if possible. If not, you speak to them on the phone. You give them a chance to say their piece. You listen, you say your piece. And look, people, sometimes individuals are going to back out of arrangements or agreements that they've made because something comes up or they have a second thought about it. Any and all of these reasons are acceptable to back out of an agreement. If you contact the person and let them know why you are backing out. And again, the email setup, the social media setup, voicemail, texting, this is, instead of fostering communication between us, and it's like, okay, wow, you know, as was predicted several decades ago, each individual human being would have a small handheld device, and that would be a communication device for that individual being, and he or she could go anywhere with it and always be in pocket, so to speak. And this turned out to be true. So in that, you can reach out to someone in a position that you normally would not have been able to without mobile phones in that. And the technology should have facilitated better communication. Instead, I don't think it had anything to do with the lack of communication by people who will not tell you if they can't make an arrangement, honestly and straightforwardly. I think it has nothing to do with it. The only impact that it's had on it was, okay, it did not bring us closer together. And I don't think that was ever the intent. The intent was to make money and, again, for convenience. It did not bring us closer together. So the one benefit that we've gotten from this is, well, at least we know when someone's ghosting us. And again, people, not only do you have to be able to spot this when it happens, but you also have to be able to spot the signs in relationships that you have, okay? And I certainly know that many of us have been through it. And one of the things about relationships is that it's the ultimate benefit of the doubt. This is why people allow other people to treat them poorly repeatedly in relationships, because they're still, oh, you know, I love this person. They love me. And even though this person is going contrarian to everything you say, picking fights with you, being hypocritical in their own values, there's this buffer. It's the benefit of the doubt that you've given them because of the relationship. And you've got to keep your eyes open for things like this. When someone that you're in a relationship starts treating people off the street that they don't have an invested relationship with better than you, when they are contrarian to things that you say, regardless of if what you're saying espouses values that they were in favor of when things were going good for you. Now, again, keep in mind, relationships can be friends, it could be significant others, it can even be family members. And I'd like you guys to pardon me for the continuously going to my nose. I'm not coked out of my gourd, okay? I've got sinus issues, and I know it's a bad look for the podcast. I would try to work on it, but as soon as I say that, man, my nose really starts itching. But back to the matter at hand. It could be a difficult situation when you're that person in the relationship that is continuing to give this person the benefit of the doubt, and they're kind of half-heartedly trying to jettison you by pissing you off and being contrarian to what you're saying and being in a bad mood every time you talk to them. Okay? Given that information and against that backdrop, yes, it is painful. If you're that person that's, hey, I'm giving this person the benefit of the doubt, I'm still into this, I'm still up for this, and they clearly are not and won't just simply tell you. So, you have a couple of ways you can go in this. Number one, you can actually go directly to the person, let them know what you've seen, and confront them. What is the issue that you have with me? And get it all wrapped up right there if they're willing to engage you in discussion. If they're not willing to engage you in discussion as to why they're mad, then the relationship is meaningless to them. And it will never change. So at that point, you only have one choice. Stall them out. Don't even talk to them. Don't even acknowledge them, because it's just going to be torture. And what will happen is you will accelerate their plan of trying to distance from you, but not having the guts to tell you all at once and why it is, and that's that. They just want to pick fights with you to irritate you so much that you'll go away. Well, if you pull back and you go away, then you accomplish their plan for them. If you don't hear from them anymore, as painful as it may be, at least you expedited the situation. Or another result in the flow chart may be that they say, wow, you know what? I've treated this person poorly. I have not been respectful of their thoughts and of their position in this relationship. And they will reach out to you and fix it. Now, again, it is as cut and dried as I am saying, okay? But when you talk about more intense relationships, blood relationships, or a friend that you've known for decades, or even moreover, the strongest relationship that you could possibly have, which is, the love between you and your significant other, as the Bible says, man and a woman. I'm not going to get into the, gay marriage and that and unions and all that. I'm not going to. But I will, out of respect and deference, say the relationship with your significant other is going to be the most intense and the most meaningful relationship that you'll have in your life. Okay? And so it's a symbiosis. You're affected by one another and what you do. And it is, I know personally, firsthand, how difficult it can be to extract yourself from a relationship. I'm going to get me some sinus medicine, man. I am sorry about constantly going to the nose. I know it's a terrible habit for someone in a visual medium. Again, I know that it is easy for me to say, hey, this is the cut and dried approach. All right. And it doesn't take into account your emotions. But unfortunately, At some point, you have to look at facts and evidence, and you have to eliminate the emotions. And I'm an emotional cat. It's hard for me to do because emotions have driven me in a positive fashion in my life. I've gotten more out of myself than I thought I would because of positive emotions. I wish I had some positive emotions right now to stop scratching my nose, but the more and more I think about it and try not to, the thing starts itching. Also, at the same time, that negative energy, it goes the other way. That's why you have individuals like myself that have been on this roller coaster that are the highest of highs and the lowest of lows because of emotions. However, you cannot let that rule and dictate your decision-making process. What you have to do is the standard side-by-side check, look at the facts. And ultimately, you have to take out that benefit of the doubt that you have for that person, and see, wow, I was treated pretty poorly there. And many times in the past when I was treated in this absolutely below average fashion, I looked past it because of the whole benefit of the doubt thing. Well, when you break it down to facts, they are inarguable. All right. One of the things that happens with individuals, particularly in a significant other relationship, that you really have to watch for, and not everyone is like this, but when you're in an argument with that person and they lose all civility, you're mad at one another, angry, and the other person in the relationship treats you like they wouldn't piss on you if you were on fire. That's a horrible sign. The individual that will maintain civility, even if they're not speaking with you, is the individual that you're going to have the best chance with as long as you are exhibiting those characteristics yourself. Understanding that we're flawed, that we're human, that emotions get the better of us, especially in relationships. There are times that we say things that we shouldn't say. There are times that we are hypocritical when we're not trying to be. And understanding it from both sides and understanding that, hey, we may be arguing now and we can get a resolution from it, but tomorrow's a new day and I don't want anything bad to happen to this person just because I'm arguing with them. In fact, it should be quite the opposite. If an outsider, an extraneous force affected the person you were arguing with, people that really care about one another would drop the argument and come to the side of that person. Come to the side of that person. That's really when you see where people are at that are, with you, that are in your life, is when you're in trouble. That's when you see, they may have been cranky or difficult to deal with. But then when you see something go down, when they see something go down that impacts you in a negative way, they're right there by your side. Doesn't mean all is forgiven for whatever you're beefing about, but it shows and speaks to the type of long-term commitment that you need with someone that understands that you're going to have arguments. And because if you didn't have arguments, it wouldn't be normal. And I think in that, if you get in a situation where both parties know and understand that, then the arguments will be less harsh. They still may be intense, but you'll know that ultimately this person didn't lose all allegiance to me just because we're arguing. You have to watch that. A person in a relationship that will cut your legs out from under you, okay, when they're arguing with you, and it's little things, but they're all the same thing. For instance, say you're going to work and you have an incredibly important meeting. It's a presentation, and you, for instance, leave a file or leave your phone at home. Your significant other sees you leaving the phone, knows you need it, or the flash drive, or whatever it may be. They know you need it, right? And you're not speaking. And they let you leave without it, knowing that you need it, and causing all of this horrible residual damage. You know, you have to watch out for stuff like that. You really do. Because a person that can betray you on that lowest level in a way that impacts you so negatively, and they can callously say, oh, no, I didn't see your phone. I didn't know you left. It's not my phone. You need to keep up with your phone, or whatever it is that was left behind, or whatever it is that they could have very easily helped you with from a position of civility, from being a civil person, but they didn't do it because they were mad at you. A person like that would cheat on you. They will steal from you, period. They do not have your back when it comes down to it. And that can be hard to take, you know? That can be really hard to take because you're in love with this person, you know? If you're like me and you're highly sexed, you got the hots for them. That weighs heavily on your mind. But again, you've got to have a person that you have a symbiotic relationship with, where you are the yin of their yang, so to speak, where you pick each other up, man. You both contribute. You know, you've got to have it like that. You have to have it like that. And you got to know that you guys are both on the same page. Okay. And this carries over to familial and, relationships between friends. You know, hey, if we're friends, we don't judge. All right? We don't judge. And we don't make, as a good friend of mine would say, fly-ass comments about what someone is doing in terms of advice and saying they ought to be doing something else. It's not what we do. Your life, we're peers. I respect that. Okay? Again, you have to watch how people treat you, and you have to eliminate, if you have any question, eliminate the benefit of the doubt that you give them. And it's going to give you the answers. They might not be the answers you like. You may look up and be in love with this person, okay, speaking about relationships, or thought that they were a close friend, or they're a family member, so you're expecting X amount of respect, a certain level of respect there because you have it too. When you ask yourself these questions in terms of how are they acting? Not who are they to me, how are they to me? You may not get the answers that you like, but you'll get them. And it boils down to basic manners, human civility. If you're in disagreement with someone, and again, as I said previously, they act like you're nothing to them, that they don't care what happens to you. They're not trying to help you at all. When they throw out common decency and civility, that's not a person you want in your life. Definitely not. Particularly if you're maintaining the civility and the decency. People get mad, they storm off in a huff, complain, take verbal pot shots at one another. But in the end, someone that's really on your side, okay, is going to understand that there's a time and a place for everything, and that tomorrow is a new day. And look, why stay with the person if, even if it's temporary, that you're temporarily going to lose all civility with them? That makes no sense. Oh, I don't care if because I didn't help him out. I don't care if he screws up this presentation at his job, or I don't help him with something that causes, an accident or something, him or her, an accident, or it's just detrimental to them. I'm mad at them right now. I don't care what happens. Well, if you're going to stay with that person, all right, you should maintain the civility. If you're so mad at them that you don't care what happens, then you need to end it right then and there. And you don't ghost someone. You don't send them an email. Block them on your phone and make a one-sided statement. That's not what you do. If you have a true relationship with someone and you think it's an issue, you speak to them directly. Email, text, social media, secondary forms of communication. Speak to someone directly. Bring it to a head. If it's salvageable, you'll find out then. If it's not, in either individual's eyes, it takes two to tango. If one feels like it's not salvageable, forget it. And that can be really tough to take because you're still into that person. But just remember, bad shit happens to good people all the time. Okay? All the time, every day in this life. Doesn't make it feel any better for you. But if you're aware of the possibility and knowing what a fluid situation life is and how quickly things can change, then you're going to be better prepared to deal with the unexpected changes and swerves that come into your life. It's just that simple, people. Take care of the problems that you can handle yourself. All right? As quickly as you can. This is going to give you more time to deal with the ones that just hit you out of the blue, because we all know life is going to throw you some curves. We all know that. And preparation is the key. It's like, I'll walk up to you and I punch you in the face and you don't see it, man, it's going to hurt and do damage. As opposed to me squaring off in front of you and giving you an opportunity to break yourself, so to speak, and brace for the punch, you're going to handle that much better. If I hit you in the side of your jaw and you don't see it, I might break your jaw, knock you out, disrupt your spinal column and fluid, and give you a mandible concussion, all kinds of stuff. But if you see it, you tuck that chin and brace for it and protect yourself and fire back one of your own, you're going to be that much better off for it. And this is when we come back to maybe for those of us who are predisposed to relationships and socializing, and you could be like that and not have a massive circle of friends, but you can take the ones that you do have very serious, your significant other, you could take that person very serious. You're going to be predisposed to enjoying those relationships, even if they are fewer and further between. But you still have to understand one fact, and it's a dilly, but it is a fact and it's not changing. You are born alone and you die alone. Period. Don't take that to mean be callous to people, because it's not about them. Make it about you. Look at yourself. Prepare yourself. Do a visual accounting with your eyes open of what is actually happening in your relationship that is throwing it off track. Keep track. That's really all you can do. If you can't, after an earnest attempt, resolve it, then distance from it. And as I said before, the other person will see either the error of their ways, and you'll get it resolved that way, or you just save them the trouble of having to ghost you, which is just not what life's all about. All right? Life's all about relationships, and you see them to a proper conclusion. You don't do it via text. You don't do it via Facebook. You don't do it via email. Even if the relationship is coming to an end, you speak to the person. And so people, as I said before, just keep your eyes open. Take that proper stock of how someone is to you versus who they are to you. And hopefully, if you love them and you're close to them, they'll be what you thought they were. If not, well, the old adage is simple. If you have problems, you need to make changes. I'm Johnny Cain. This is Johnny Cain Podcast. We'll check back in with you as news develops. We'll see you next time.